Hello, welcome. This is Van Jones and Christine Gluntz. We are at the White House Council on Environmental Quality. First, we want to say, as so many of you have already said, happy birthday, Mr. President. Whatever gifts people are sending to him, we know the best gift in the world is a gift that he has given to us in terms of helping us turn the page in America with new opportunities for clean energy, green jobs, improving our healthcare system, reforming our healthcare insurance, and also making sure that we have the best educated population in the world. So thank you for those gifts, Mr. President. And you are invited to ask us questions about the green recovery, about the clean energy economy. Today is a big day for us. There was a number of meetings that we had here in the White House talking about the green recovery. The Green the Block coalition jumped off with a bunch of great ideas that they're going to be doing all across America. And also we had secretaries and the Secretary of HUD, the Administrator of EPA, an Undersecretary from Department of Energy, all talking about ways that they're going to be marshaling recovery dollars to create green jobs across America. So let's have that conversation and let's figure out what folks want to talk about.
Okay, Van Jones, you talk about clean energy. What type of budget is needed for this and what type of investments have already been made?
Gotcha. Well, one thing we want to keep in mind is that of the $787 billion in the recovery package, $80 billion is directed toward clean energy, energy efficiency, smart batteries, the grid, brownfield cleanup. So you're talking about an $80 billion investment by mid-February that the President and Congress had already made to jumpstart this clean energy transformation. The exciting part about it for us is that this $80 billion of investment is going to create a wingspan of jobs. People literally from GEDs to PhDs will have the opportunity to get to work repowering America, retrofitting America, helping us to boot up clean, and also to further green the economy. So $80 billion is a number, and we're very, very excited about the progress we're making going forward.
Great. We have a great question from Ann McDonald Felch, who is writing us from Connecticut, and she wants to know what is happening about training for green energy jobs for the young and for the old.
Great. Well, a number of things are happening. First of all, just to get the big number out of the way, the number everybody's excited about, the Department of Labor is led by Secretary Hilda Solis. She is the architect of the Green Jobs Act when she was a congressperson, and she has $500 million, $500 million through the Department of Labor to begin to train people to put them to work, putting up those solar panels, retrofitting homes, going into homes that leak a lot of energy, put a lot of strain on our power plants, which adds to pollution, training people to go into those homes, blow in clean, non-toxic insulation, replace old windows and doors, put in new boilers and furnaces, replace old appliances, weatherize those homes so that they leak less energy and also cost homeowners less money. She's got money to train people to become wind turbine manufacturers, the whole deal, $500 million. One of the things that she's super excited about, we're super excited about, is that she directed that $50 million of those dollars go directly to help former auto workers get trained to become green workers. You could imagine people going from highly skilled, highly paid auto workers to highly skilled, highly paid transmission line workers and help to repower America. So that's a big part of our training dollars. There's $100 million from the Department of Energy that's going to be going out that is also about getting us a smarter grid, a better grid, and training workers to go out there and make sure that we have the smartest, most effective transmission grid. Sounds boring. People say, geez, you're talking about transmission lines and wires and stuff. That is mission critical for us to be able to move electrons, clean energy electrons from our clean energy power centers, say a desert where you've got a solar array up, or a place where you've got wind turbines. Well, those clean energy power centers tend to be very far away from our population centers. So if we're going to get all those clean energy electrons from our power centers to our population centers, we've got to have a bigger, better, smarter grid. And guess what? That grid won't put itself up. So we have $100 million to train workers to do that work. But that's just a part of the play. The other chunk of money, the Department of Education is very committed to working through our community colleges and to make sure that all of the other academic supports are in place to train the workforce of the future. So when you talk about the job training agenda, what we know is that solar panels don't put themselves up, homes don't retrofit and weatherize themselves, wind turbines don't manufacture themselves or deploy themselves. All of those are jobs. Everything that is good for our environmental agenda, for our energy agenda, for our climate agenda, fundamentally is a job. And we have the job training dollars now to begin to deploy the workers of tomorrow.
Okay, great. We have a question out of Atlanta, Georgia from Sean Sanderson, who wants to know, what or how do we get involved in this green jobs movement?
That's great. Well, one of the great things that's happening is all across America, you're starting to see community colleges, training centers, et cetera, step up and begin to offer more training, more classes, more coursework. So if you're a very young person, I can't tell if you're young or old, but if you're a very young person, you get a chance to take a bunch of classes and begin to prepare yourself. The president has said he wants to see people in America becoming scientists again, becoming engineers again, learning how to build things, manufacture things, design things again. That really, in his mind, is the backbone of a very strong, robust, resilient economy when we're building things here again. We want to build the future here. In order to do that, you've got to have a highly skilled, highly trained workforce. So one thing is making sure that people are highly trained. The other is that on September 11th, the whole country is going to be doing a day of service where people will get a chance to get plugged right in, cleaning up their communities, planting gardens, helping to restore parks and streams. There's a whole day of service that's happening on September 11th. You can find more information about it, I think, on this page. And that is a great place for people to connect, to find other people in your peer group who are also passionate about repowering America, but also greening up America and cleaning up America. And we encourage your involvement.
Great. We have a question out of Silicon Valley.
Okay.
They want to know, how does public transportation fit into all this? What component does public transportation play?
Well, it plays a big component. One of the great things is that as we are moving into this next round with our recovery dollars, we've already put a lot of money on the table and will continue to help improve our roads, and that's really, really critical. In fact, we have 38,000 recovery projects that have already been approved. 6,000 of them are road projects, $20 billion for that, and 2,500 of those road projects are already underway. That's why when you're driving around, you're starting to see people working. That's why you're starting to see scaffolding around all those bridges. As you look around, you're seeing the recovery beginning to work. But that's only a part of the transportation agenda. The other part is mass transit and making sure that people can easily get to where they want to go without having to get in a car by themselves and drive long distances. We want to make sure that people also have the opportunity to use mass transit, and the recovery package supports that as well. The other great thing, of course, is that as you look at the Department of Energy, they are putting a lot of money into advanced automotives. And people are even talking about what they call heavy hybrids, where you would actually put hybrid engines in things like buses so that you would have incredibly clean bus technology. We're also talking about cleaning up, EPA has money to clean up diesel emissions with regard to our buses. So it's not just about public transportation, it's about clean public transportation, and it's about making sure that our public transit system is helping us to lead the way technologically into the automotives of the future.
Great. We have a question from Grace Elise McGlade, who wants to know, what advice do you have for students who are currently in college? What steps or what can they do in their community or?
Well, great. Well, first of all, congratulations on being in college. That's a big deal. And I know that right now it's tough. People are sometimes feeling like they're not going to be able to go to college. That's why in our recovery package, we gave assistance to college students. And we wanted to make sure that college students were able to continue their education, because President Obama wants to make sure that as we come out of this downturn, we have a sustainable recovery. We don't want to just go from boom to bust. And part of that is investing in infrastructure like clean energy. Part of it is investing in people. And so you're already doing a big part of what the president wants to see you do by being enrolled in college. And so we are excited about that. While you are there, you have the opportunity to make a bet on the future. And I believe, certainly the president has been very clear, that a big part of the future of our economy will be in America home-growing our own energy, letting us do for ourselves what we've been relying on other countries to do for us. We have a wealth of solar energy, wind energy, not just in the plain states with the wind energy, but also off all of our coast, up in the Great Lakes area. We have a wealth of solar power, not just in the Sun Belt, but really on rooftops across America. We have an extremely rich opportunity for smart biofuels, so we can start growing our energy, letting our farmers get into the game here. And all of those different technologies, geothermal, advanced hydro, all of them require not just good engineers and scientists, but also marketers, also entrepreneurs, business people. So I would encourage you to really focus on that. The other thing I would say is that some people say, oh, well, geez, I got to get out of school and start a solar company. I don't know how to do that. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that whatever you're passionate about doing, especially if you want to become an entrepreneur, you will have the opportunity to do that in a green way. If you want to start a hair salon, you can do that in a green way. If you want to start an auto repair shop, you can do that in a green way. And you will be rewarded in the marketplace for making those choices, because both consumers and governments are going to be encouraging you to hit those higher environmental standards.
Okay, we have a great question from Billy Mitchell out of Jacksonville, Florida, who wants to know, are there small business grants for green businesses, or how can small businesses become more green?
Gotcha. Well, there's a two-pronged answer to this question. If you want, just for everybody who's listening, if you want to know more about how to get government grants and contracts, recovery.gov is the main website to help you understand how you can plug in and how you can play. But there's a special website, and I want to make sure I get the name right, that is FedBizOpps, FEDBIZ Ops, OPPS.gov, that really lets you see where the contract opportunities are, and then grants.gov lets you see where the grants are. And I encourage people to go and look at those two websites. They're being improved continuously, but I encourage people to go and look at those websites, because you will be amazed at how many opportunities there are to compete for contracts, to compete for grants, to do any number of things that will help your business go forward. The other piece is that the Small Business Administration is very interested in this whole question of green entrepreneurs and helping to move that agenda forward, making sure that our small businesses get a chance to green up and clean up and become more profitable going forward. And so I encourage you to go to their website as well.
Okay. We have a lot of great questions coming in online.
Yeah, I'll answer shorter.
We have Annie Reinhardt, who is writing us from Burlington, Vermont, who wants to know, how are we going to get people who are living in poverty trained and in for green jobs? Yeah,
well, that's really the passion of Secretary Hilda Solis. One of her passions is to make sure that people all across America and across different income levels can have the opportunity to be a part. For instance, to talk about another great secretary, our Secretary of Agriculture is committed to making sure that people who are living in rural America, who also need jobs, who also need opportunities, are plugged in. And for instance, in rural America, we often talk about the solar panels going up on cities, we often talk about the wind turbines being manufactured in cities, but where will those wind turbines be deployed? They will tend to be deployed in rural areas. So there are jobs there. If they're going to be deployed on big pieces of land, we have the opportunity to choose now to grow food crops, which is important, but we can also grow energy crops. So we're talking about smart biofuels. We also have a lot of fire danger that is built up in some of our forests around America. Some people are suggesting that there's an opportunity here, and we have money in our recovery package to go for wood to energy, going back to wood pellets, which actually don't add to our global warming problem, but do create more rural job opportunities. Also, some people don't think about that much, is land restoration. We have places in America where the land has been damaged. As you restore that land, you can do it in a way that it captures and stores more carbon in the soil, pulls that out of the atmosphere, greens up that landscape so it captures more carbon in the plants. Well, guess what? Now you've got a beautiful area, but it's also providing a service of capturing carbon, helping to cool the planet down. That is also a great job for rural America. So there is money in the recovery package and orientation in the recovery package to link those kinds of job opportunities in rural America with job training through the Department of Labor.
Okay, great. We have another question coming out of Syracuse, New York. I think you're going to like this question because it's on energy efficiency. So we can talk about weatherization. But for Michael DeRose of Syracuse, New York, will grants be made available for people to convert their homes to more energy efficient?
Yes. The answer is yes. Let me talk to you about this particular program, which is, as Christine knows, my passion. I will try not to go on and on about it, but it's my favorite thing that we're doing. We are spending $5 billion, with a B, on energy efficiency for homes, especially for people of modest means, people who are about 200% of the poverty line and below, people of modest means who really cannot afford to have their energy bills going through the roof in the summer, going through the roof again in the winter, because their homes are just so leaky and inefficient that they literally are just sending money out the window. In 2008, the federal government spent a total of $200 million across the whole country to help fix that problem. The recovery package has $5 billion, from $200 million to $5 billion, which means that there are going to be literally thousands of families, tens of thousands across the country who will be paying less on their energy bills. But that's not the only benefit of this program. The same dollar that is being used to cut someone's energy bill is also going to cut unemployment, because we're going to be putting people to work to go and retrofit all those buildings. It also, that same dollar that cut the energy bill and cut unemployment, will also be used to cut pollution, because our power plants won't have to work so hard. If a home is made 30% more energy efficient, there'll be 30% less pollution coming out of a smokestack someplace. And it also should make those homes more valuable, because a drafty home should be less valuable than a good, comfortable, energy efficient home. So these are humble, hardworking energy efficiency dollars that we have put into the recovery package. I am excited that the Vice President really wants to figure out a way to keep that going, keep that train moving, not only for the people who are of modest means, but really for all Americans. And I think as we go forward, you will see much more momentum in this direction. Also, I want to brag on HUD. Secretary Donovan was talking about the, I think, $250 million, $250 million that HUD has to green up public housing and assisted housing, so that people who are very, very low income can have those benefits in terms of comfort, and also governments can spend less money on those properties as well. So yes, energy efficiency is a big part of the agenda.
Okay. We have a question from Andrew Reback from Philadelphia, who wants to know, there are a lot of people who talk about going green, dismissing it as hype or fad.
Yeah.
How can we ensure that these changes towards a green economy are indeed sustainable and result in long-term changes? How do we do this?
Well, I mean, first of all, it really is something that is not a fad. We're talking about a convergence point where so many different factors are coming together to make energy efficiency and clean energy a big economic play. It's one thing if it's just sort of a niche thing, just something you want to do because it makes you feel better about yourself. I want to be green because I love the planet. That's good. That's a good driver, and we need to keep that as a driver. But it's not just making people feel better that really changes things. It's when people can feel better about what they're doing and also earn money doing it, can also launch businesses doing it, and that's what you're beginning to see. So for instance, as our Congress moves forward, it is making very, very strong progress toward creating the incentives for clean energy to be the profitable form of energy in America. Well, once we get the rules right, the public rules right, then we can unleash innovation and enterprise. Then suddenly you're going to see American business, American entrepreneurs, American innovators jump in, and we'll have as much innovation in our energy sector in the next 10 years as we had in our information sector in the last 10. And when you see Congress moving in that way, when you see states and local governments moving in that way, tribal governments moving in that way, and much more importantly, when you see entrepreneurs and venture capitalists moving in that way, you can be pretty sure this thing is going to go forward. The main thing is who in this audience will be part of making sure that it is as robust as possible, includes as many people as possible. This problem that we're trying to solve of energy independence for this country, clean energy for the world, requires the hearts and the minds of all Americans. This is a problem that's too big to solve by any one little sector or city, but all of us working together can solve it by taking individual actions and also supporting Congress as it moves forward to get the public rules right to unleash this energy innovation transformation.
Great. We have a question out of my hometown, Chicago, Illinois. Bill Higgins wants to know, how can we improve the energy in rental units? Many people have landlords who might not have as much incentive if the tenant is paying the electric heating bill. So what can tenants do?
Yep. This is one of the big barriers to energy efficiency. It's called the split incentive problem, where you have a property that is owned by one party, but the energy bill is paid by another. Now that could be a business, that could be a family that's renting. And so the only way to get that energy bill down is for the homeowner to do something, or for the property owner to do something that he or she may not have an economic incentive to do. What we are working on right now is coming up with ways to actually work with utility companies, to help with utility companies that want to do this, to get around this problem. Because there is the opportunity, and you're starting to see experiments going on now, where utility companies can play a great role in helping to get energy costs down. And as we move forward into a more, once we get our climate bill passed, I should say, they'll have a great incentive in utility companies to help, because they will want to stay under that carbon cap. They're not going to want to be wasting energy. And so a part of the long-term play here is to bring in other parties who can benefit, who can bring forward new products, who can bring forward new services, and help deal with the split incentive problem.
Great. We have a question out of Central New Jersey from Dan Fatan. Can you elaborate on what local governments can do to encourage green businesses open and locate in their communities? We've visited communities like Charlottesville,
Yes.
we've been in Philadelphia, Lansing.
Yes.
Can you talk about some of that?
Yeah, you know, it's great. Local governments, of course, were way out in front of the federal government on a lot of these issues. Your great hometown of Chicago, for instance, has a green mayor, and Mayor Daley, that has been pushing this for a long time, and other great green mayors, Mayor Nichols in Seattle and other places. So Mayor Nutter in Philadelphia. So there's lots and lots of mayors. They're way out in front on this, and so there's a huge wealth of knowledge about how to do this. One of the things that we saw in Congressman Piriello's district was this incredible joint effort between the city and community groups to weatherize homes and let people pay back the loans to upgrade their homes as a part of their overall energy package. Those kinds of innovations are really important. But here's some of the things that cities can do. Number one, procurement. Cities buy stuff. And what a city decides to buy and where a city decides to buy it from can make a tremendous difference in the growing of a local green economy. The other thing that you have in cities are schools, and what a school board decides to do in terms of focusing on local healthy food versus processed food from nobody knows where, focusing on edible schoolyards, following the example of our First Lady, who has done her own organic garden. Schools can also be great places to have solar panel arrays and use those as learning laboratories. Schools can also be great places for after-school programming around environmental consciousness. So there's a whole schools agenda. The other piece that is important, I think, with regard to cities, besides what cities buy, it's also what cities permit. Cities have the opportunity to, through their building codes and through other measures, to really encourage smarter growth, to really encourage more efficient buildings when they're built. It's a lot easier to make a building green from the very beginning and to have very high standards at the very beginning than to have to come back and do a retrofit agenda. Now, we are going to have to retrofit a lot of our buildings, but cities really have their hands on the reins in terms of what the next generation of buildings look like. So the local action is critical. We want to make sure that those local mayors, for instance, who fought for the Green Block Grant so they could do a lot of this work, have the full support of the federal government going forward.
Great. We have a question from Kevin Shea out of Suffolk County, New York, who wants to know, how do we create financial incentives for this? So we can be saving money spent by the government by taking, citizen money and spending our government. I think we can talk about recovery investments potentially and some of the work being done in the energy bill right now.
Sure. Well, our fundamental strategy here, and I'm glad you put it in terms of incentives, our fundamental strategy here, and I think sometimes it's been misunderstood, is to unleash the private sector. This problem is too big in terms of getting America energy independent, making sure that we're creating the clean energy solutions for the world. It's too big, and creating jobs here, it's too big a problem for government to solve. Certainly not on its own, but government can be a partner to the problem solvers who will be in the private sector. How do you unleash private innovation? Well, you can learn a lesson from the information revolution we just went through. Government did 2 things right, and then the private sector did 98 other things amazingly well, and that's why we live in a world where you can't even have a conversation without saying Twitter, YouTube, right. Google, Yahoo, all these.
Facebook right now?
We're on Facebook right now. You can't even have a conversation. And most of those terms didn't even exist 5 years ago. If you walked around saying Google, Yahoo, Twitter 5 years ago, somebody locked you up because they thought you were crazy. So how did that happen? How did you have such a dramatic transformation? Well, government did 2 things right and let the private sector do the other 98 things exceptionally well. The 2 things government can do right. Number 1, it can get the public investments right. Google didn't build the internet. The government actually built the internet to make sure that we had an information system that couldn't be taken down at any one point. The government did that. And then government, after it got the public investments right, it then got the public rules right so that anybody could participate, anybody could play. What we're trying to do is copy that onto the information, into the world of energy. What would that mean? Number 1, getting the public investments right. That's our $80 billion. $80 billion in our recovery package to jumpstart a smart grid, smart batteries, all those things to get that train moving. But the most important thing we can do is to get the public rules right. And that is the climate and energy bill that is moving through Congress right now. That will be the big incentive because what it will do, carefully crafted to make sure that we don't have any shocks or anything negative to the system, but what it will do, it will create economic incentives, rip through so that we get that innovation. Suddenly, you will have people saying, hey, guess what? Maybe not this year, but at some point down the road, I can see that these old, dirty ways of using energy are going to become too expensive for me. Let me start to invest. Let me start to purchase. Let me start to move in this other direction where I'm using less energy and I'm using cleaner energy. I'm using energy in smarter ways. That creates a whole new context. Suddenly, here comes a stampede of entrepreneurs, a stampede of inventors, a stampede of innovators who come forward with new products and new services. 10 years from now, there could literally be a whole new world of energy products and services that are just as much a household name as YouTube or Yahoo that right now we can't even imagine.
Okay. We have a question from Chris Ruse, who wants to know what are the most feasible return on investment changes we can make right now, and how do we fast track these technologies in the next year for the majority of Americans? So gotcha. What can people do right now?
Well, right now, the quickest return on investments have to do with energy efficiency. They have to do with retrofitting our homes, weatherizing our homes, and making those personal choices so that we waste less energy overall. And people, some of the stuff you go, oh, this is corny, but it's really not corny. Changing the light bulbs in your house. People have said it a million times. How many of you have done it though? How many of you actually have LEDs or complex fluorescent light bulbs throughout your home? Doing simple things like unplugging the BlackBerry or charger or the cell phone charger or the iPod charger when it's not plugged in there. You say, yeah, I know, but how many of you honestly have one plugged in right next to you and there's no phone there? Those things actually don't cost you any money. They save you money, but they actually help us to use less energy. The other thing in terms of how do we deploy this stuff all across America? I couldn't be any prouder of our recovery team having gotten, and 24% of the time, we've gotten out 27% of the dollars. Our recovery process is a 2-year process. We're a little bit more than 150 days in, and yet we've already been able to actually get more money out the door than we're supposed to. By the end of September, we're on track to have 70% of those dollars out the door. I think that what you can best do, especially in those cities where mayors will be getting money to retrofit buildings and community action agencies will be getting money to retrofit homes, is to give the political and personal support to those decision makers that are going to be taking on this tremendous challenge of cutting energy bills for public buildings and for low-income people, and creating jobs for people who need them. Because as we move through the recovery process, the action is going to move more and more away from Washington, D.C. and into your own communities. And supporting those local businesses and those local leaders that are trying to make the recovery work on the ground, encouraging the local media to point to those success stories, pointing out to your own neighbors and your own friends, hey, look at those cranes, look at those folks working, look, it's beginning to work, so that we can continue this momentum through these difficult times and to better outcomes down the road.
Okay, great. We have a question from Christopher McConnell, who wants to, from Washington, D.C. What workforce development will federal, state, and local governments provide to encourage a green economy? I think this might be one of our last questions.
Good. Okay. Well, Christopher, that goes back to the question that we hit earlier, and I'll come at it a different way. The recovery package does include, for the Green Jobs Act, about $500 million, $500 million, and that's through the Department of Labor. And the Department of Labor has a network through the Workforce Investment Act, has a network of those one-stop shops where people can go and get job training, or will go and find out where the job training is. Well, that is going to be the best way to interface with the job training dollars that are coming down the road. And luckily, people have those kinds of things in almost every community in America. The great thing that we have in this country is that we have the assets and the infrastructure to retrain our workforce. We are losing some of the jobs that we once counted on, but there are more jobs that are coming. And this transition that we're going through, we believe, as we get those job training dollars in place and people get upskilled, people will be able to have better jobs in the future than we've even had in the past. And those jobs will be better for our communities because the air will be cleaner, the water will be cleaner, and we'll be more secure from an energy standpoint as a country. So that's where we're going with our job training dollars. Hilda Solis, Secretary Hilda Solis, has been such an amazing, outspoken champion. She was actually in West Virginia. Somebody asked how we're going to help people who really need help. She was in West Virginia this week, standing with the coal miners and letting them know that their health and safety, the people who go deep down in the earth to bring out the coal that powers this country, their health and safety is important to this administration. And they introduced, I believe, some new ways to keep people safe and protect lives, livelihood, and livability in coal country. These are the kinds of things that this administration is committed to, and we're proud to be a part of it.
Great. I think that's all we have time for today.
Good.
Any closing comments?
I thought I would have time to sing happy birthday
No,
to President Obama, but we'll have to wait till next year. So that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Great.
much.